most of the innovations in the IT monitoring, operations, and security, and including the compliance, is driven by big data. It's a huge challenge to collect, store, analyze, and correlate those big data and extract meaning out of it. At the same time, doing it efficiently and in a cost-effective way. Also, in one of the research conducted by IDC, they found that only about 0.5% of the big data is being tagged or analyzed as of today. So there's about roughly 23% of the data in it has gone. So what we do with ArcSight Logger is that we try to extract data or extract value out of 100% of the data. So it's not about that 0.5% data that you're analyzing today. We want to comprehensively log 100% of the data, every single click from every single machine. And if you have some sentiment analysis tools, probably also collect human-generated data and log all of that into ArcSight Logger. That's a huge task. So how do you even digest that amount of information and big data? I mean, depending on the business group, yours could be a 5-member team versus or a 5,000 people oil company. But so does that still make sense? The answer is definitely yes. It is not the number of devices of the company or the employees that the organization has, but it's the amount of data or the depth of IP that you want to protect from being hacked. Having said that, the problem with the current approach is that most of the technologies have scale, and there's a huge trade-off between either the speed or the breadth or the depth of collection. IT is completely frustrated because they have to manage devices that are 30 years old versus some of the new devices that you are in the process of purchasing that will be deployed 6 months from now. And most of the solutions that they deployed last year or this year may not be scalable next year. One of the huge research company conducted a survey and found that about 86% of the corporations actually can't deliver the right information at the right time. So one of the best ways to see if you need this log management is to ask yourself a question on whether I'm sorry. So one of the questions that you can ask is about is to see if you were hacked, or if someone calls you up and says, you're hacked, would you be in a position to validate that you're either hacked or not hacked? That would be a good fire drill. That's the only way to find if your organization is equipped. And one of the tools that can definitely help you to do that is log management. So there's definitely a new approach needed to consolidate all your entire machine data. And that's where ArcSight Logger comes into picture, where you would need monitoring on the go, you would need mobile devices, and you would need access, view access of your compliance and security dashboards and reports on the mobile devices. You would also need the same information that you're giving it to CIO or CISO to be given to the security analyst, because every time there is a problem or an incident or an event, you would not be going back to your CISO and asking if problem A or B needs to be fixed first. So all of you need to be on the same page. So it's extremely important that you have some dashboards and reports that you can share it with them directly and be on the same page. So Logger definitely delivers a cost-effective universal log management solution that unifies searching, reporting, alerting, and also the analysis across any type of enterprise machine data. This unified machine data can be used for various use cases, including compliance, regulations, GRC types, and security, IT operations, and plain log intelligence. We're going to see some of the use cases that Bala is going to demonstrate, but we just want to talk about how is this different from 30 other vendors in the market who also do the log management and SIEM solution. At the core, what we do is simply we collect, store, and analyze all of the data in the organization. So what is the big deal? The big deal is that we collect 100% of the data. So we have about 350 plus connectors that collects the information from 350 different log generating sources that could amount to thousands of devices from hundreds of vendors written in different languages, some parse, some not, some structured, some unstructured. So we collect 100% of such data because we also have flex connectors for collecting data for which we don't have connectors. So you can build your own connectors, and that's where our partners help us build connectors for you. And while we're collecting the data, we enrich with rich metadata through a process known as normalization and categorization, where we simply filter and parse the data as we're collecting at the speed of, sometimes even at the speed of 100,000 units per second. So that enriches the data. So the benefit of that data enrichment is that you're now able to do a search on metadata and not the reject. So you don't need Cisco certified or a checkpoint certified engineer to look into who logged or to check all the failed log attempts on your firewall yesterday between 10 and 12. Even you and I could do it without any help from our certification program. So that's a huge. And then what we did is we looked at the core search capabilities which is used for forensic investigation. And you typically don't search once if you want to do a forensic investigation. It's just like Google. You'll probably go there and do 25 searches before even analyzing to see what you need to actually search for. So that's why what we did is we introduced this concept called Bloom filters. We know exactly what our customers search typically. So we took those 15 specific fields and we created a super indexing on them. And we also enhanced our needle in a haystack. What we did is we created a bunch of haystacks on top of haystacks. So if you want to, for a use case where you want to check if a specific IP address exists in the database, and if it does not exist, we have the capability to just search for a group of haystack as opposed to searching for a needle, and then giving back the result that the needle will not exist. So to translate that into the result, we've been able to do a search at speeds of about 3 billion events per second, and spit out the results. And when you convert 3 billion, it's roughly years worth of data, depending on the type and amount of data you collect. Or it could be searching through an entire days of data and throwing back that IP address don't exist within a fraction of seconds. So we've done tremendous amount of enhancements. And in terms of the storage, you're now able to store up to 1.6 petabytes by peering 20 instances of Logger, which means your entire big data can be on Logger, and then you have this fastest search engine on the planet to do the searching. But it's highly modular, and you can start as your 5 gigabytes per day, and then grow up to unlimited. It's like Gmail. Like you start with 5 GB, and then as the number of emails you get increases, the storage just keeps increasing, and you'll never realize that you don't need more space than what Gmail gives typically for a personal email. And this is pretty similar in terms of when you start small with 5 gigabytes and then keep adding in multiples of 5 gigabytes and add multiple instances of such loggers. And it's so modular that it will grow with your organization without having to make any changes to your IT architecture. And then we have something on a static correlation also built into the logger. So what that does is, you can upload some files, and we do a lookup, and then we can generate alerts, reports, and dashboards based on the file lookup. So to give you a typical example, if you have a CMDB type of information in an Excel sheet, you can just upload that into log management, and then that could be something like, IP address could be mapped to a user and the department that the user works for, and then if there is any anomalies that you wanted out, instead of just showing the IP address, you could actually show the user and the group that he works for or she works for, and his supervisor's name, and that's one example. The second example is you can download a reputation database with known data IP addresses and constantly run searches against those file lookups to see if someone within the organization or outside the organization is trying to connect to a known bad IP address. So all of this can be done through a simple log management tool. You don't need highly sophisticated tools to begin with your security operations center. So you can begin your SOC with just Logger, very simple way, and then scale it up and add more tools, add IPS information, firewall information, antivirus endpoint information, attachment TLP, CMD. You can grow as big as you want and build a SOC eventually. So with that, I would like to take another minute because seeing is believing, and we really want Bala to show what Logger can do with its search capabilities. But these are some of the use cases that you can deploy, from application monitoring to continuous monitoring to compliance purposes to flow monitoring and analytics. It has some obvious benefits because of its capabilities and enhanced performance. The analyst says that we are one of the best and leading in the industry, and nobody gets fired for buying HP ArcSight for sure, because we've been leading the Magic Quadrant for 11 years in a row. We have twice the market share of any other competitor out there in the market, and we've been ranked as #1 in meeting customer requirements. So you will never lose a job for choosing HP ever. And it's not just the analysts, even our customers love our product. We have thousands of customers, hundreds of case studies on our website. And the next question is why HP? Why not go for some point solutions or cheap solutions, or cheaper solutions, or open source? The point is that the problems need solutions and not products. So we can talk about the speeds and feeds and specifications, but ultimately it's solutions and the bigger, broader HP umbrella that help you to start small and grow with the size of your organization. So with that, I want to give it back to Riaz. Riaz, take back the control so that we can ask Mala to do the demo. Yes, on the,
thanks, Sridhar. I'm asking Bala to kind of take us through the live demo, and over to you, Bala.
Yeah, thanks, Riaz and Sridhar. It was an informative session on improvements that's happening on the Logger platform. For the next 15-20 minutes, I would run the attendees through the Logger interface. People who have already used Logger definitely will feel the change that's come up with the Logger 6.0 or Logger Plus version that's released recently with HP's global event. So the moment when you log on to the Logger UI interface, you will be presented with the Web 2.0 interface. It's a drastic improvement over the Web 1.0 or older generation web platform. You will be presented with the login screen, and the moment you log in, you will see the definite changes on the Logger platform that is out there today. So I will take a moment to log in. Once you are logged into the Logger interface, you're presented with the refreshed interface to look at key aspects of the Logger platform itself. Up top, you see all the statistics of incoming event into the Logger, event flows into the Logger, And Logger also can output data or stream data to correlation engine for cross-device and advanced correlation with ArcSight ESM, or it can stream data to third-party syslog servers for further retention of the log data. And the different areas of Logger is now neatly presented in a ribbon fashion where users can navigate with utmost ease and perform their actions on different requirements and different analysis requirements as well. So the main screen offers you the summary of different activities that are happening on the Logger platform itself, starting from the top, receivers processing data from different log sources, and events categorized based on the severity of the actual event itself, and the log sources which are primarily responsible for feeding data into the Logger, and also the top event categories which are feeding data into the Logger. So with this new interface, you can directly navigate to any specific area of the Logger interface to understand and monitor the different parameters of the Logger itself. So for example, if I have to go back and see the data usage pattern within my organization, I can quickly go into the search bar and type the keyword and directly move to the navigation window without having to search for that option in my Logger interface. So with this, we will structure the demo in different parts where we talk about the dashboarding capabilities, which was a bigger challenge in the older generation of Logger. Then we'll move to use cases of analysis and the historical trending of events, and also take up some use cases on incident handling and incident monitoring, how Logger can provide a platform for incident analysis for users. Then we move to reporting interface, look at different reporting options we have, how fast Logger can be utilized for reporting, and finally we move to system administration and configuration parameters for managing the Logger platform itself. So let's start off with the dashboards. One of the important feature that a lot of customers raised as a feature request to HP was dashboarding capabilities on log management platform. So if you look at today's competitive landscape, most of the product offer basic interface for log management products that are out there in the market today. So but with Logger 6.0, you get a customized dashboard option where you can build your own views for analysis and monitoring purposes. So Logger 6.0 also enables your operations team to do static correlation of events based on specific action, specific data type, and specific outcome of an event to better monitor the infrastructure and the operations. So the moment you hit the dashboard tab on the interface, you will be taken to the statistics window where you can monitor all the matrices of the Logger platform, event inflows, outflow to the correlation engine, CPU utilization, maximum processing receivers. All internal statistics are presented to users for health monitoring of the Logger platform itself. So beyond this, if there are customers who have already used Logger, this is something which is very familiar to them. Beyond this, if users had to build their own dashboard, it was a difficult task and users had to go through multiple processes to build the dashboard. With the advancement in Logger, with Logger 6.0, users can now build on-the-fly dashboards, which is very graphic intensive and graphic rich dashboards, and present the information in a visualized format. For example, for this demo, we have built a dashboard on different parameters like identifying top malicious codes detected by IDAs and IPS antivirus systems. We also look at the traffic patterns originating outside of the network into my network. And we also talk about the configuration changes and the account manipulation activities. So if I had to do this on the previous generation of Logger, I had to go through a large configuration phase and end up with an unsuccessful attempt to build such dashboards. But with the Logger 6.0, it is as simple as creating a query and pulling that query into the dashboarding interface. So all these dashboards are interactive dashboards. The moment you hover your mouse onto the graph, the specific item and specific activity will be highlighted, and you can even drill down into the actual event to do further investigation. So important thing that we all have to notice here is the query is automatically built for us. If I have to use this in a report, I can go ahead and quickly save this as a filter and call this filter in a report as well. So this makes the life of the security operations analyst easier when it comes to operations and management. So as an example, we'll also take a quick look at the login and connectivity parameters, which is a frequently used reporting or a dashboard application in most of the customer places. We can talk about the failed attempts on different applications within the organization, and the percentage-wise split is already mentioned by the dashboard itself. I can quickly use the link provided on the interface to go to the search page and do further investigation, or pick up the category which is of interest and do the investigation. So now I can get the specific users who have run activity on a device and failed to perform the activity. I can also go to the lower section of the interface to find the users and the count of the activities that is done on the particular system in question. So this is a quick overview of the dashboarding capabilities of Logger, and this is a great tool for a security operations center to do trending and analytics on top of the specific data that is being collected in Logger platform. So we'll now move to a very powerful feature of Logger 6.0, which Sridhar already has highlighted. The search capabilities of Logger is now increased many folds compared to the previous generation of Loggers. So let's take a simple example and go through some examples and see how powerful Logger engine can be on our analytics requirements. So the best thing that we can use in Logger is free text search. You can do a search like you do a search in Google and come to a specific point in investigation and do better analysis. So if I have to look at the specific activities on the network, if I have to monitor what ports are being frequently used, so how do I start investigation? I start with a parameter called net flow. I know I'm monitoring net flow from the routers and switches within the organization. All I have to do is put the keyword net flow in the search bar. Within seconds, I get data for last 30 days on my screen. So now if I have to do further investigation on top of this, I'll start adding my queries onto the screen where I want to know top destination ports being used on my network. So I'll on the fly prepare a query and call the database and build a chart. Within a matter of 4 to 5 seconds, I get all the top destinations being accessed on my network within the Logger itself. So if I have to do further investigation on this particular action item, I click on the bar, which will automatically build my query on the query list. And if I have to further investigate and see who is the user who is responsible for generating such a big traffic on port 80 within the network. So what I do is I add the command called source address onto this, and the moment I hit the go button, I will be presented with the users responsible for generating port web-based traffic within my organization. So that's how easy Logger is now to do the investigation specific to a particular activity. So another important use case that I come across when I meet multiple customers across the globe is to investigate IDS events. So it's a bigger problem for them to investigate on IDS alerts, because on an average day we will see hundreds and thousands of alerts triggered by the IDS and IPS systems. So let's look at the use case where we take up IDS as a platform and how we can do the investigation and drill down into a specific device which is affected by an attack or attempt of an attack. So to start off with, I'll use again the free text search within the Logger search bar. So I don't know how many IDS devices are reporting to my security operations center. So I quickly start this use case with the keyword IDS. So Sridhar also spoke about the data enrichment by the Logger collection platform. So what Logger collection platform basically does is it picks up the raw data and presents it in a user understandable format. So now I know there are multiple IDS systems reporting data to my Logger. It could be from Cisco, it could be from ISS, it could be from any standard network IDS systems. So all I have to do is pick up the category called network IDS. I'm not containing my search query to specific platform. Rather, I'm being general in terms of data that is collected within the system. So on the screen, we can now look at different IDS products reporting to Logger. Snort, we have semantic one-to, we have Reconnect. We also have products from IBM ISS. So if I have to generalize my query and bring up all the top attack attempts happened on these IDS IPS systems, all I have to do is start building my query with the base query that I have already taken up. So now I will chart it up with top category technique used by attackers to penetrate into my network. So all I have to do is build a query on the fly with the chart called top category technique. So one thing which you all would have observed, I have not used any complex SQL statement, regular expressions, or processing language to build my results. So everything is clickable. All I'm doing is selecting a particular category and building the analysis on the fly. So now I have been presented with the result. Over a period of 30 days, I see different types of IDS alerts triggered on my network. This is something which is very interesting on my screen. Is somebody is trying to exploit a known vulnerability onto the systems. So now I go ahead and click on the category called exploit vulnerability. So this presents all the vulnerabilities that are reported by different IDS systems within my network. So if I have to go and look at the events in person, there are so many different types of vulnerability exploit attempts have been made onto my build another query called top names of the reported IDS vulnerability attempts. So this query will bring up the top categories of vulnerability attempts or attack attempts on the known vulnerabilities on my systems. So if I have to go in detail and investigate one of the key web server which was targeted with the root.exe attempt, I go ahead and click on that bar which brings me up with the actual information on the attack itself. So if I have to know who are the top sources who are targeting my devices with specific attack, I go ahead and build another chart on the fly with source addresses to further investigate on what are the different IP addresses contributing these attacks onto my network. So further down, I see a lot of command execution, root.exe command execution attempts on my web server from a specific IP, public IP address. I go ahead and further filter the query and sort the events based on the important source for investigation. So now if I have to go and do the investigation of what are the target web servers that are being target destinations that are being attacked by this particular source IP address, I can quickly go ahead and type destination address to further drill down and see which devices within my network is actually being targeted with a specific source IP and the specific vulnerability on my device itself. So the outcome of this use case is that we are now looking at a huge data at the back end. How do I use simple English-like language to build a query, and how do I get a meaningful investigation out of the events that are reported to my logger by multiple devices? So because of the data enrichment that the connector layer provides to logger, I can now build my queries on the fly and do the investigation in real time. So once I have built the useful query, now I can go ahead and save this as a query for my reporting or further analysis when somebody else wants to continue to do this. So Logger provides you with option to save as a filter, save as a search query. You can use this as a search query on the fly whenever you want to do this investigation in a future date, or use this as a dashboard panel and you call this particular query on a dashboard and use it for real-time display on your SOC panels, display panels as well. So this is an example of how do you do investigation on a specific point within your network and how quick you can be in terms of identifying the vulnerable machine and the source targeting your vulnerable machine. So next use case, we look at VPN access. Most of the customers we work with provide VPN facility to the users, but they also want to restrict the VPN usage at the same time because they expect people to be on site whenever they're doing critical job. So again, if I have to do the VPN analysis, I start with the free text search option that's there in the logger. I hit the word VPN, and then use the pipe character to build my searches and see who are the top source IP addresses using VPN connectivity onto my network. So this is very useful information that I can make use of my operations or on a daily operations basis to see how many users are using my VPN infrastructure. At the same time, business can also do a license management to see how many licenses are utilized on VPN infrastructure. Should they increase it or reduce it? The capacity planning, all of them can be addressed with the logger. It's not only serving your security and analytics purposes. At the same time, you can extend logger for your operations, license management, and business-specific use cases. So I see specific IP addresses reported on my result, and I see specific IP addresses using VPN connectivity for a larger duration of time or multiple times within the defined period of 30 days. So I can go and further see what kind of activities are performed by this specific user. So with this, we will quickly move to another option where we have pre-built query within the logger or the queries that are already saved by us. And if you want to bring that query and do the analysis per se, we can do that as well. So another specific use case that I wanted to demonstrate is account creation. Most of the times when there is a need for analyzing what are the user IDs being created, user ID being monitored or modified, we can quickly pull that query which is already saved in our system and analyze what are the usernames created on different IP addresses or different hosts within my network. So this makes the life of the operations team much simpler. So customers who already have logger and the correlation engine now offload all the static analysis to logger, while the correlation engine can be used for advanced analytics and correlation. So this now offloads majority of your reporting and analysis static correlation requirements to logger, while you can use the correlation engine for the advanced correlation requirements. So with this, we'll now quickly move to reporting capabilities of logger. So earlier, the previous generation of logger had the complex reporting interface, which is now modified to a great extent. So you are provided with the categories of reports out of the box. For example, if you want to look at the database events, if I have to see what are the events that are errors and alerts that are occurring on the database system itself, I can go ahead and use the default parameters for the time range set in the system itself, or I can modify it to last 30 days or last 1 year, depending upon the need of the report parameters. So I go ahead and click on the run button. Within a matter of seconds, I get the formatted reports on my screen, which is very surprising and interesting that how fast logger can now fetch the data over a period of 30 days with this advanced logger engine. I can on the fly go ahead and export this as a PDF report and also email this to a specific recipient within the organization. So I don't have to do a lot of things to create a report. I just go build the query. If you already have the query, you call the query in the report engine and run the report on the fly, and you also can do compliance reporting with logger. It's not that you do analysis, analytics, trending, your security incident management, static correlation on logger, but logger can also be used for your compliance reporting. So as of today, logger can support major compliance standards like PCI, ISO 27001, SOX, HIPAA, depending upon the need of the hour. Compliance reporting can also be addressed. For this demonstration purposes, we have taken SANS top 5 as a compliance standard, and let's see how logger can generate reports for a specific compliance requirement. So one of the top 5 category in SANS top 5 reporting requirement is a number of failed logins within the organization. So I go ahead and click on the default run case for this report, and let's see how the report is presented for a specific compliance requirement. So now the report engine presents with me the graphical and the tabular information so that I can present it to the compliance auditor within a matter of seconds when the compliance audit is happening within the organization. So I'll go ahead and generate this as a PDF report, and let's see how the PDF report turns out for the specific compliance requirement. So the template is already defined by the compliance module, and if required, you can also go ahead and modify the template to suit your organization standards and templates for presenting it to the different auditors and internal management resources as well. So with this, we'll now move to the system configuration and administration module. Earlier generation logger had a very complex navigation for different configurations and administration parameters. Now all the configuration related parameters are bundled into a tab called configuration, where each of the categories are labeled, and it's very easy for an administrator to now go ahead and manage the logger platform itself. So for example, if I have to go ahead and peer loggers, logger 6.0 onwards allows you to peer 20 loggers consecutively, and you can run searches across 20 loggers with one interface. So that's how Logger provides scalability to you on the fly. You can go ahead and add up to 20 peer loggers, and you can have global search across those 20 peer loggers. So another important important area that most frequently visited is storage management, archive management, and configuration backups. So now it is easy for a user or an administrator to go ahead and configure a backup on a specified location on a specified time of a day, so that entire system information is backed up in case there is a need for restoration, and we can use that backup for restoration. So with this, we will now move to a system administration tab and see what options are made available under system administration. So this is where you go ahead and configure the user parameters, investigate the certificates, investigate the banners for your login screen, license updating, and system settings as well. So as an administrator, I just have to be tracking all my usage, what is the limitations on my logger, if capacity planning is required, how do I upgrade to the next level of licensing and capacity. So this interface will enable administrators to look at the licensing policy and upgrade the existing logger to higher capacities. So with this, we'll now move to question and answers since we are running short on time. So we have covered most of the important features of the product, starting from the interface change, the UI change, dashboarding capabilities, the advanced analytics and analysis capabilities, reporting and configuration parameters. So we'll now open the floor to question and answers so that me and Sridhar can jump in and clarify all your queries. I'll also pass the session to Riaz so that he can also do the needful during question and answer sessions.
So thanks Sridhar, thanks Bala for an excellent, insightful session. I think it was really wonderful. We really appreciate the session. And I request all the attendees who have a question to type down the question on the panel that you see on the right side, so that we can actually take it accordingly. Meanwhile, Sridhar, Bala, there is a question from Pradeep Kumar. Can we kind of take this right now?
Yes, we can do that right now.
Yeah. So actually, the first thing I think Pradeep Kumar is asking from where should one install the logger? That's the first question. So
Pratik, basically, with this version of logger, you have two options of deployment. One is an users are concentrated within one data center or one segment of the network, it is advisable to put the logger at that particular location. Or if you have a distributed setup, it is again recommended to do sizing according to the number of regions and locations that you want to integrate with logger. So option is open to the user. You can choose the mode of deployment to be software or hardware, or you can choose the distribution of loggers across your region and see how best it can fit your requirement and use cases.
Okay, the second question from Pradeep again is free text searching allowed instead of a query?
Yes, as long as the data is indexed, the fields are indexed within the logger, you can go ahead and do the free text searchings. All the use cases that we demonstrated on this demo were based on free text search. So I did not use a complex query or a complex regular expression or SQL statement to churn out the results for my reporting and analysis requirement. All I did is, with the free text, I searched different parameters within the database and converted that to a meaningful use case. So free text is very well possible, and you don't have to do a complex statement on top of the logger platform.
Excellent. I think that answers Pradeep's questions. Now there's another query from Sumit. The first is, what would be the possible reasons for receiver to fail while receiving logs?
Yeah, so from our deployments, we have not seen cases where receivers are down very frequently. However, there are chances. A receiver is basically designed to handle specific amount of load. So it is time when a receiver is overloaded, or when a specific time of a day there is an attack like DDoS or DOS, when event flows are flooded left, right, center. That's the time when you can anticipate receivers to go down. Otherwise, on a normal day, receivers we have not seen going down frequently.
Okay, so just adding in addition to this. Sorry, Bala, please go ahead.
Yeah, so one main reason for receivers to go down is the huge amount of volume which comes into the receiver. So it is always advised to do a sizing of the logger and then come up with the number of receivers to be configured on the logger, so that load on the receivers are distributed evenly within the logger, so that you don't have a single point of failure within the logger receivers.
Okay, so I think Sumit's second question is.
We've also seen on. I'm sorry. We've also seen on a few occasions where the vendors themselves update the operating system or their system versions, and then that sometimes causes delay. So if you see some of the receivers not failing, just check if there is a newer version of the connector that's already been uploaded, and then that will most probably fix those issues.
Okay, so I think, yeah, Sumit's question was also, I think, quite related, but I think second question was, what really happens when the EPS exceeds the limit?
See, the Logger 6.0 is not sized on the EPS. See, current version of Logger is sized on the amount of GB or data consumed per day. So at the end of the day, if you overshoot the EPS or GB capacity per day that is licensed, you will be given a buffer of 5 to 6 violations before the console access is disabled. Having said that, data will continue to be captured. You will still collect the data. You will still store the data within your Logger platform, but search and analyze features will be disabled for a specific period of time. So you will have 5 to 7 violations allowed to cross the EPS or a GB per day capacity, and that gives you a notification to upgrade your capacity to the next possible upgrade that is required for a user. So data will not be lost. Data will be continued to be collected, and it will store it in the database, but the search and reporting features will be disabled to the users.
Great. So do we have any more questions? You may also raise your hand so that actually we can ask you the question. We have Vijay Lalwani, who's actually raised his hand, but he had an issue with his audio. So I can actually kind of, Vijay, you have a question? Okay. Meanwhile, Shreyas has actually asked a question. So in case if they do not receive logs, do they have an option to restart or check services for the connector or other receivers?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So basically there are internal events generated within ArcSight component. For example, there's a smart connector which is collecting logs from a specific log source. It stops collecting logs and forwarding it to a receiver within Logger. An internal event is generated within the Logger to alert the user that a device is not processing logs for a X or Y period of time. That's one way of identifying the log stoppage to the Logger. The second option is to see receiver is down. If I have to restart the receiver within the administration tab, I can go to the services panel and restart a specific receiver if required. So most of the times, due to the network connectivity, a smart connector may stop sending logs to the Logger. At the same time, it also generates an internal event to notify the user that logs are not coming from a specific smart connector for a specified period of time. Based on that alert triggered within the system, user can now go ahead and investigate why the connector is not forwarding logs to the Logger.
Thanks, Bala. I guess we have time for maybe 2 to 3 questions more. If you have any more questions, please feel free to kind of type it down on the panel that you have on your right side. I guess that would be all. I would like to, well, I think there's one more just comment from Sunil. Bala, Sunil's question is, do we have any kind of buffer to handle events flooding to the Logger?
Yeah, Reyes, can you repeat the questions, please?
Do we have any kind of buffer to handle events flooding the Logger?
Yeah, so basically what we do when we size the Logger is we work on this sustained EPS for a set of devices that are reporting to the Logger. At the same time, we also calculate the peak values for Logger to manage during a specific attack or a specific activity done within the network. So if I calculate the EPS on a sustained volume to be 1000 per second, I will actually plan my Logger deployment to be capable of handling double the size of the EPS on a sustained duration. So it all depends on the sizing. In case if I have to address the peak volumes, I'll have to also consider the peak event flows within my network to accommodate that. So to answer the question, in short, you'll have to plan for your peaks rather than the sustained EPS.
Okay. Good. Hope, Sunil, that answers your question. So I think it's time for us to kind of wrap up this session. I'd like to thank all the attendees and the speakers for the session. I think it's been quite insightful, and I think there's been a lot of queries that's been asked as well. And I hope this Paladion Labs webinar series is actually bringing a lot of value to you and what you do in your day-to-day lives. If you have any queries, feel free to kind of contact me. Anyway, immediately after this particular webinar, we will be sending a thank you invite, and shortly we'll also send you a recording of this particular session. You can also find the previous recordings or previous sessions recordings in our website at www.paladion.net. Just go to the webinar link and you will find the previous sessions as well. And have a great day, and we will be in touch.
itu aja.